Hey guys, in this video we are going to talk about the economic freedom in our chosen countries of Bolivia, New Zealand and the United States of America. We will be discussing how economic freedom impacts the well-being of citizens within these nations.
What is economic freedom? It's a concept where an individual has a fundamental right to private property, the ability to profit from their own ideas and labor, where a person voluntarily produces, trades and consumes goods and services in a free marketplace. But it's also the freedom to interact with people and freely express your opinion. When we talk about economic freedom, some of the factors to consider are the GDP, the unemployment rate, and the corruption rate. Typically, the most economically free countries have GDP per capita that is about 10 times the size of the lowest economically free countries. Bolivia. Bolivia is a democratic republic with a population of 100 million. The rate of private investment is among the region's lowest, and foreign direct investment is concentrated in natural resources, which decreased by $225 million in the first quarter of 2017. According to the Heritage Foundation, the unemployment rate in Bolivia increased to 3.7% in 2016. The inflation rate is 5.7%, and Bolivia has a debt of 33.1% of the GDP. Bolivia has a GDP of 33.8 billion, and the GDP per capita is 3,104. Bolivia ranked 152 in the World Bank's Doing Business report. The problem is the government restrictions, the instability of legal framework, and the corruption. Corruption in South America is a big deal. About 1 out of 3 people using public services paid a bribe this year. Bolivia ranked 113 with a corruption index of 33. The government owns 2 of the biggest broadcasting networks. In 2011, a telecommunication law was established to broadcast presidential messages. Local journalists claim that it restricts freedom of expression by giving too much control to the government. In Bolivia, men receive more and better education, health assistance, and generate greater income than women. Moreover, Bolivia has legalized child labor, allowing children as young as 10 to work.
Now let's discuss New Zealand. New Zealand is a constitutional monarchy with a parliamentary system. Its Prime Minister is Jacinda Ardern, and it has a population of 4.6 million people. New Zealand has a GDP of $185 million, and its GDP per capita is $39,000. When we look at the difficulty to open a business in New Zealand, the World Bank ranks New Zealand as the overall easiest country to start a business. Under law in New Zealand, there is freedom of expression. The media outlets are all free and competitive. Freedom of religion is also explicitly protected under law. According to Transparency International, New Zealand is ranked number 1 along with Denmark for being the least corrupt nation in the world. New Zealand was the first country in the world to give women the right to vote in 1893. It has a 9.9% pay gap difference between men and women, which is the lowest difference in the Asia-Pacific region. It is also illegal for someone under the age of 14 to be employed in New Zealand.
Now let's discuss the US. The US has a GDP of $19 trillion with a GDP per capita of $57,000. The World Bank ranked the US number 11 for ease to starting a business. While this ranking is surprisingly low considering the startup culture in the US.
Freedom of speech is protected under the First Amendment of the US Constitution. The United States does surprisingly come in as 43rd in the World Press Freedom Index. The United States is also ranked number 18 on the Corruption Perception Index for 2016. The USA is currently ranked number 28 on the Global Gender Equality list. This lower ranking is possibly not helped by the 17% pay gap difference between men and women's salaries. Child labor is also illegal in the USA, with a minimum age of 14 years old to be employed. When we look at these 3 nations, we have different levels of economic freedom. New Zealand at the top of the spectrum with one of the highest levels of economic freedom in the world. The United States lagging a little behind, but still one of the top countries for economic freedom. Bolivia is still a developing nation whose government still controls much of what the country's economy does. I hope you guys learned something. Thank you for watching.
Created using Powtoon.